Hey, my wonderful, wonderful, wonderful people, my beauties, my handsomes, good afternoon to you. My beautiful people, I decided to do not an in-depth research, but a quick research in a sense. And this is in light of the fairly recent fighting that took place at the school, the bullying, where the young fellow, the young teenager, or maybe I'm assuming he's a very young teenager. He looked really young. I don't know if it's a primary school or prep school, and I'm thinking it's high school. And he was fighting the little boy. Even the little boy was kind of feisty and coming back at him. He was fighting him and he kicked him and so on. And it really was bad. It broke my heart. And I decided to look at something done by Robert Ressler, Ann Burgess, and John Douglas. It was updated last August 13, 2024, from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, and they interviewed 36 serial killers, because sometimes they don't get rid of them. You wonder why they don't have the capital punishment, because they have to study the mind of these serial killers to understand why is it that they have reached this state of hardness in their lives. And they talked about 24 behavioral problems that are there from a young age, the formative years. And they are daydreaming, compulsive masturbation. They tend to isolate themselves a lot. Isolation, chronic lying, bedwetting, or the official word for that is, the official name for the bedwetting is enuresis. Rebelliousness, as you would know. Nightmares. Yes, they tend to have nightmares because of, more than likely, they were, abused, and there is some sort of a deficiency in the brain. Nightmares, destroying property, arson, yes, fire setting, cruelty to children, poor body image, and some actually said, temper tantrums, sleep problems, assaultive to adults, phobias, running away, cruelty to animals. Yes, I've often heard that about a certain group of people. Accident prone, headaches, destroying possessions, eating problems, convulsions, and self-mutilations. So they start to cut themselves up and damage, really creating some sort of abuse, self-abuse, I would call it. And the reason for this is that parents don't understand that when they see signs, like quite a number of these signs in their children, if they don't nip it in the bud, then they would be allowing a monster to be created. 36 serial killers, that's a good number. And they found that all of these were related to them. Some took more precedence than some. So the first top 10 you probably would be moving from daydreaming, compulsive masturbation, isolation, chronic lying, bedwetting, or rebelliousness, enuresis, which is a bedwetting, nightmares, destroying property, arson, cruelty to children, cruelty to animals, and poor body image. And we don't understand that when we see these signs in children, we have to deal with it efficiently. We have to really deal with it from the root cause. And sometimes parents will see these things, the rebelliousness, the disrespect to adults, the cruelty to animals. Once you see a child cruel to animals, and cruel to other children, you better watch. That's a serious red, chronic red blood, red flag or flags. And many times, or oftentimes, or sometimes, I wouldn't say seldom, parents see these behavioral problems in their children, and they do nothing about it. What they do, they compound it. So they shout and they raise their voices and they abuse them, and it compounds the problem. And hence we have these 36 serial killers, according to these maybe psychologists, although they work for the FBI, and so on, because it was not dealt with it comprehensively. When you see these behavioral patterns in children that are abnormal, because they're not normal, that's not normal socially fit behaviors, These are behaviors that you have to nip in the bud from the formative years. What are the formative years? 0 to 7, but I would say to you 0 to 12. You have to ensure that the right ingredients as it relates to parenting is implanted and input in the lives of the children. Because those first 12 years will tell you, generally speaking, the outcome of that child. I'm not saying that you won't have children being transformed when they're older, but they have to go through arduous means. They have to go to Timbuktu almost, and I don't mean literally go there. I'm talking about having to go through hell and back before they become successfully good adults. Because there is some damage in the reticular sort of, membrane or area of the brain that creates a distortion, that there is a defect, and it causes these people to act this way. Sometimes they probably can't even control themselves. They've lost all emotional intelligence, all self-control. And I want to say this too. I know parents feel good when their children are doing well academically. Sometimes these people tend to do well they're on two ends of the spectrum. They either do very poorly in school or they do very well. So sometimes you have to kind of, watch them still, even when they're doing well. See how their social skills are, their interpersonal relationships, because they can be academically sound, but in terms of interpersonal skills, poor, indigent. There is a deficiency, and if that is the case, you will have a major problem on your hand, maybe even more than the one who is not as educated or as emotionally, so-called emotionally, or intelligent, or has intelligence quotient, knowledge. Because if they have that knowledge and that sort of evil, monstrous way behind it, oh my God, the tsunami, the hurricane, the earthquake that they would create in the lives of the people or the country in which he or she resides. Parents, you have to watch your children. You have to see if something is wrong. If you cannot help them, seek help. As decadent as our country is, as decaying as our country is in terms of its moral standards and, social standards, there are pockets, even though they're minute, that can help your child. Don't watch the curse continue in the lives of your children. Because that little boy, because he's a little boy, if he continues that way, he probably won't live past 30 or 20. If he continues, and even if he does, his life will be in uproar. He will be like a fugitive, running for his life, hiding, bleached out, looking like Freddy Krueger or Smeagol. Because I don't know, sometimes some of these guys, I hear, some men say that I remember I saw one, he was so bleached that he started to have the sort of pig look. When they say pig, meaning, how the pig color is on the pig? That's how and he said that women actually like it, and I said something is off, because to me he looks like somebody threw acid on him and they threw bleach on top of it and put him in the hot sun. That's how he looked to me. That they acid him, bleached him, and put him in the sun to dry, so to speak. Smeagol actually looked like a very handsome being in comparison to them, because the bleach, it damages that. It takes away even your handsome look or your beautiful look. Parents, please, if you love your child and you want to see your child not follow in the same path as you, if you're not on the right path, do whatever you take to reduce these problems that I mentioned, so that you can have a socially fit child, so that your child can contribute to the growth and to the development of this country. Or if they decide to migrate, they can become stalwarts. They can become mighty men and women. They can be game changers, world changers, history makers for the better. But you have to take stock. To whom much is given, much is required. And God will hold you accountable when you leave your kids like that, when you leave your children like that and not deal with them the right way. Please, parents, put your kids first. Ensure that they become socially fit. Guys, you know what to do. Read TikTok and YouTube. Have a great one.